You find it on a Wednesday. No envelope, no warning. Your coffee is still hot when your phone buzzes. One image, sent from a number that doesn't exist. Your daughter, walking into school. Yesterday. You were at your desk by 8:30. You had no idea anyone was that close. A second message arrives 11 seconds later. 4 words. Step outside. Come alone. You look at the building around you. 9 years of your life are inside this building. You stand up. You take your coffee. You walk out like it's a normal break. It isn't a normal break. The man waiting outside doesn't show a badge. He doesn't introduce himself. He says, "We know everything, and we need you." What he means by need is not what you think it means. You didn't stumble into this. You walked in and told yourself otherwise. 26. Accounting degree, 80,000 in debt. A job offer paying 3 times the market rate. You asked one question. When do I start? 3 months and your supervisor showed you the second ledger. 47 shell companies across 9 countries. Restaurants billing more than they could physically serve. Warehouses on paper that existed nowhere on any map. $300 million a year running through your hands. You understood exactly what it was the moment you saw it. You said nothing. You went home. You didn't sleep. You told yourself 1 month. Then 6. Then 2 years. 9 years later, you own a house, a marriage, a daughter in school. Every year, the money made the last year feel like a smaller decision. That is the mechanism. That is always the mechanism. Not one large choice, hundreds of small ones that each feel like nothing. The DEA had been building your specific file for 4 years. Not the cartel's file, yours. Because you were the one making 300 million disappear without a trace. They didn't want to arrest you. They wanted to aim you at the people you worked for. The agent drives you underground. 3 levels. No windows, no cameras. He reads your charges from memory without looking at anything. Money laundering, criminal enterprise, federal conspiracy. Minimum sentence, 22 years. Your daughter will be 30 before you see her outside a visiting room. He stops. He looks at you. He says, or, you go back today. You tell no one about this conversation. You pass everything to a contact they assign you. Routes, names, shipments, political connections, all of it. Your file disappears. Your family stays protected. When the operation ends, you walk free. You ask what happens if you refuse. He reaches into the back seat without breaking eye contact. He sets a folder on the dashboard. Your daughter's name is written on the cover in blue pen. He doesn't open it. He doesn't need to. You say yes. The agent from the parking structure disappears after that conversation. You never see him again. Your actual handler is a woman who goes by one name only. She makes one thing clear at your first meeting. You deliver. She decides what happens next. That is the full extent of your arrangement. She meets you every 11 days, never the same location. Parking structures, hardware stores, once a laundromat at midnight. She never writes anything down in front of you. She asks, you answer. She leaves. First report, a routing change out of Hermosillo, 40 kilos, 1 trucking company, 1 specific date. 4 days later, 3 lines in a local paper. Checkpoint seizure. No names. You fold it. Bin it. Return to your desk. This becomes the full shape of your life. Mornings. Cartel books. Evenings. Your handler. Weekends. Your wife. Your daughter. A person you no longer fully recognize. You become skilled at 3 realities running simultaneously. You become more skilled at not thinking about what connects them. 18 months, 43 intelligence reports delivered, 6 shipments intercepted, 11 arrests, 2 routes dismantled. The cartel loses $90 million with no idea where the leak is. The source sits in their accounting office every morning reviewing their books. You start to think you might survive this. That is the most dangerous thought you've had in 9 years. Year 2 changes the way you move through the world. You check your car every morning before you start it. Under the hood. Wheel wells. Under the chassis. Your wife thinks it's a new habit. She doesn't ask why. You sleep with a prepaid phone under your pillow she doesn't know about. Changed every 3 weeks. 4 exit routes memorized from your neighborhood. School pickup schedule memorized for every day of the week, not because anyone told you to, because the alternative is not memorizing it. Your handler notices the change in how you deliver. Tighter. Faster. Less detail than she wants. She asks if something happened. You say no. She says, don't burn out. We still need you functional, not safe, not protected. Functional. You file that word away carefully. 14 months before the final operation, you almost get caught, not by the cartel, by a second federal agency running a parallel operation. They don't know about your arrangement. They flag you as a high-value cartel financial officer. They begin building an independent case against you. Your handler finds out with 4 days to spare. She kills the parallel operation through channels you never see. She tells you afterward, like it was an administrative inconvenience. She says, it's handled. You ask how close it was. She says, close enough that you should be grateful. You hear what she is actually saying. She just showed you what she can do, and what she can choose not to do. 3 weeks later, your wife finds the prepaid phone. You come home, and it is sitting on the kitchen table. She is sitting across from it. She doesn't speak when you walk in. She looks at it, then at you. You tell her it's for a client who requires discretion. Some clients in this industry are complicated, nothing to worry about. 3 lies in 4 sentences. She picks up the phone. She hands it to you. She says, okay. She goes back to making dinner. You stand in the kitchen holding the phone. Okay did not mean okay. It meant, I am choosing not to know. That choice is the most expensive thing anyone has ever given you. What ends the routine entirely is a meeting your boss calls on March 14th. He says quarterly review. The 7 men already in the room when you arrive say otherwise. You don't recognize any of them. No introductions, no names. Your boss tells you to present the quarterly reconciliation. You do. The numbers are clean. Yours always are. 1 man dismisses everyone else and waits for the door to close fully. He studies your face in silence, not hostile, evaluating, which is significantly worse. He says, 3 shipments intercepted in 8 weeks. The intelligence used originated from inside this organization. He wants to know if you have noticed anything unusual. You say no. You offer a full subsidiary audit by Friday. He nods. He thanks you by the name on your cartel employment file, not your real name, the operational one. He does not know who you actually are. That single fact is the only reason you leave this room. Your handler tells you who he is 3 days later. Internal security. His only function, locating informants. 13 found in 4 years. None of them alive. She tells you to slow down and pass less. You tell her he is already running an active investigation. She tells you to act normal. You ask what normal means from where you are standing. She doesn't answer that. The audit report takes 4 days to construct. Every word of it is fabricated. You identify a logistics coordinator skimming small amounts personally. Real theft. 6 months of ledger documentation. Fully verifiable. Completely unrelated to the intercepted shipments. Solid enough to give the security director something real to act on. Friday morning you submit it. Friday evening the coordinator is gone. You don't look at his desk when you walk past it. That night, you sit in your daughter's room until 4 a.m. You don't touch anything. You sit in the dark and listen to her breathe. 8 weeks later, your handler says the operation enters its final phase. Financial network, leadership, political contacts, import corridors, all documented, all sourced from what you provided across 3 years. One piece remains, the primary distribution hub location. Nobody outside the top 3 knows where it is. You are not in the top 3. She asks you to find it anyway. 5 weeks building a reason to need that information. A real gap in the northern distribution cost reports across 3 periods. You document it and take it to your boss as a financial integrity issue. He escalates it. 2 weeks later, authorized for a physical site audit. They drive you there blindfolded. You count turns. You count minutes between each one. Road surface changes under the tires. Railway crossing 9 minutes in. Industrial fans sound to the east when they open the door. Inside, football pitch size. 12 loading bays. Reinforced electronic locks. Mezzanine running the full north wall. 2 armed men watching the floor. You do the audit. You fix the numbers. You thank them and say nothing else. You memorize everything without appearing to look at anything. That night, you reconstruct the full route from memory on paper. Next morning, hardware store aisle. You pass it to her. She reads for 40 seconds, folds it. She says, "This is it." What she asks next is not in anything you agreed to. Location confirmed. But they need your boss inside the warehouse. Night of the operation. Physically present. He hasn't visited a physical site in 3 years. His security protocol prevents unscheduled location exposure. She needs you to break that protocol. You tell her that is not what you agreed to. She says the agreement covers full cooperation until the operation concludes. The operation has not concluded. You ask what happens to you when it does. She gives you the same answer she has always given. File disappears. Family protected. You walk free, but your position hasn't changed since that underground parking structure. No leverage. You never had any. You build a second layer on the distribution report. Internal theft at the staging level. Significant and ongoing. The kind that cannot be verified remotely without creating dangerous exposure. The kind requiring someone with real authority to authorize in person. Wednesday morning. His office. Just the 2 of you. Numbers first. Problem second. Recommended action third. The exact format you have used for 9 years. You tell him you need him there personally. No delegation. He trusts your numbers. 9 years without a single question. That trust is the last thing you take from him. He agrees. Thursday night. You leave his office, walk to the bathroom, cold tap. 2 minutes. Then back to your desk to finish the afternoon. 11 p.m. Gas station payphone. Date. Time. Confirmation. She says, "Good." You hang up. You drive home. She told you go home Thursday. Wait for the call. Stay away. You park 2 streets from the warehouse and cut the engine. You sit in the dark. You don't entirely know why. You just need to watch it happen. 2 a.m. Convoy arrives. 14 vehicles in coordinated sequence. The operation takes 23 minutes. Your boss is inside when it begins. He does not come out. You wait 6 more minutes. Then you get out of the car and walk toward the warehouse. Not away from it. Toward it. A federal agent moves to stop you at the perimeter. You say her name. You say, "Get her out here. Now." She comes out 2 minutes later. She looks at you the way someone looks at a problem they didn't plan for. You look at her the way someone looks at a person they have finally read correctly. You say, "The boss is dead. The organization has no leadership structure above me now. I know every financial account, every active route, every contact name. I am the most operationally valuable asset you have ever had access to. I want a new deal. A real one this time." She takes 3 seconds before she responds. 3 seconds tell you everything. She doesn't say yes. She doesn't say no. She says, "Come inside. We'll talk." A person negotiating says yes or no. A person buying time says come inside. You have spent 9 years reading rooms. You read this one in 3 seconds. You take 1 step back. The agent to her left moves before she finishes the sentence. Not toward you to arrest you, into position. You turn and run. Not panicked, controlled. You counted the turns getting here 3 weeks ago blindfolded. You know the railway crossing. You know which direction blocks vehicles. 2 shots. Both miss. Both close. You don't stop. You understand now what the original deal actually was. Not about your file. Not about your family's protection. It was about extracting everything you knew and then closing the account. The cartel does this to people who become liabilities. The DEA does exactly the same thing. The word for it is identical on both sides. You just learned it from the federal end tonight. 40 minutes later, convenience store, cash, prepaid phone. You step outside into an empty street at 3 a.m. You call your wife. Take your daughter to her mother's house. Tonight. Not in the morning. Right now. Leave your phone at home. Use the landline only. Tell no one where you are going. She asks what is happening. You tell her you'll explain when you see her. Long silence. Then, how long have you been lying to me? You don't answer that. You tell her you love her. You hang up. Phone in the dumpster. You start walking. No car, no name, no file, no deal. The cartel kept you alive because you were useful. The DEA kept you alive because you were useful. The moment you stopped being useful, both sides ran the same calculation. You were never a person to either of them. You were a resource with a shelf life. You have a logistics coordinator whose name you've made yourself stop remembering. You have 9 years of cartel money that bought a house you'll never enter again. You have a wife driving somewhere right now who understood in one question what 9 years of silence actually looked like. You have a daughter who will wake up somewhere unfamiliar and not know why. And you have whatever is at the end of this street. You spent 9 years making dirty money disappear. 3 years making a criminal organization disappear. Now you need to make yourself disappear. Nobody is going to help you do that. You tried to use the DEA the way the DEA used you. You walked into a federal operation and called it a negotiation. It wasn't enough, but it was closer than anyone in your position has ever gotten. Your boss isn't walking anywhere tonight. You still are. For now. If you stayed this far, the next story is already written. Subscribe to Unlived Life. The next one goes further in.